back to my channel. So last week I hit 50k followers on Instagram, which I have already expressed my gratitude for in my latest post and also on my stories, but I also wanted to do it quickly here. I do plan on doing a behind the squares episode about it a little bit more, but quickly just wanted to say thank you. And I think also the topic I've chosen to talk about this week is quite fitting because I think we often get so caught up on Instagram in creating the perfect photo that our captions get a little bit neglected. And what's really interesting is some of the feedback I've been getting lately is people telling me, you know, I followed you in the first place because I really like your pictures and your style and that sort of thing, but the reason I'm still here is because of your captions. So today I wanted to talk a little bit more about captions and help you guys figure out the best way to write your captions and also give you some good ideas for those days when you just feel super stuck and the crickets in your head are chirping. I have those days too, don't worry. And also really quickly before I get started, I just wanted to remind you guys about my one-on-one Instagram coaching. So more and more I'm getting messages DM'd to me asking for feedback on your account or for a little bit more personalized help. And so my one-on-one coaching is the perfect way for me to be able to do this for you. I will include a link to it up in the description here. If you press the little arrow, that will expand down and you can check it out if you'd like. But for today, captions. I really think that in placing less emphasis on our captions, we are making a pretty big mistake and also missing out on a pretty big opportunity to connect with people. So one thing I think people often forget about Instagram is that it is social media. It's not a one-way conversation, it's a two-way conversation. That's what being social is all about. So the perfect place to start a conversation is in your caption. Obviously a photo is a one-way thing. You put it out to the world, but you don't necessarily get a response. But in your caption, you do. So your caption is the perfect place to start a conversation, to share more of the real you, I guess, to be seen as a real person as opposed to some mystical creature that always has beautiful photos and, you know, exists in this perfect world. A caption can do a lot more than that and go a lot deeper, and yes, it's the perfect place to start that two-way social conversation with your followers. I often see, and you probably see the same, or maybe you're one of the people who do these, and I'm not saying I'm not having a go at you, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I totally understand that writing captions from the heart can be really intimidating and overwhelming, so it's easy to default. But what I'm seeing a lot of is people either just writing a quote from someone else in their caption or using really witty, funny one-liners that maybe they found on Pinterest, or maybe they're amazing and they thought of them themselves. But the problem with these things is that it's not creating a two-way conversation. And in a world where we are moving our lives more and more to an online space, I think we're really craving human connection, and those kind of captions, for me, they just lack soul and they lack personality, and I don't feel like I'm really getting to know this person behind these beautiful photos. So how do we start writing captions that have more soul and more personality and do start a conversation? My number one tip is force yourself to take a step back from relying on quotes or one-liners. And I know it's like anything, you need to practice it before you can really become good at it. So if you force yourself to be like, okay, I'm gonna start writing captions, I'm gonna make more of an effort to put my personality into it, to start a conversation, your first, second, third, whatever caption that you start doing, they're not gonna be amazing. Just like your first, second, third photo you ever put on Instagram wasn't where you are now, right? You have to start somewhere. And you have to practice, because otherwise you're never going to get to that place. So the first step is the hardest one. You just got to commit to putting more into your captions and to not falling back on copy and paste captions. Number 2 is speak from the heart. So when I say this, I don't necessarily mean share every single nitty-gritty detail of your life, because not all of us are comfortable doing that, and I know I certainly am not the person who likes to get that much into detail. But that doesn't mean I can't share things that are real to me, that are relatable to other people. You don't have to go to that, level of being, oversharing or being uncomfortable with what you're sharing. For everyone it's different, so you just need to figure out, okay, what am I comfortable sharing? And when you do share it, just make sure you're speaking from the heart. Pretend you're talking to a friend or a family member, but just be yourself and inject that into your caption, because people really can tell, and it really does make a big difference. So think about your caption as a conversation starter. If you remember what I said just a moment ago, Instagram is a two-way conversation, it's social media. So always, always, always end your caption with a question, no matter what you're talking about. And I find the best kind of questions that get the most response are questions that are a little bit more lighthearted, that don't require too much thought to go into them, and they don't require people to type a whole paragraph. Some people will, and that's amazing, but to sort of involve everyone, the people who don't have the time or energy to put that much thought into what they're going to say, give them the chance to answer in 3 or 4 words without, thinking too hard about things. And also remember, people love to share things about themselves and talk about themselves. It's just human nature. So ask people about them, what they like, what's their favorite, how is, what did they do today, where did they go? Make it about them. And lastly, so now you've asked a question, you've got an answer. How do you think a conversation continues? You respond again. So it's really, really important to respond to every single comment that you get on your posts within about 24 hours, depending on how many comments you get and how often you post. For me, I post every single day. I get quite a lot of comments, so replying to 24 hours worth of comments is, quite a few hours of work for me, but I put that effort in because, like I said, it's social media, and I'm making real connections with real people, and it has a real impact. So the first hour after you post, be there at least half an hour if you can't manage an hour, but a whole hour replying straight away to anyone who comments. It's rewarding for those people who get to be the first in to comment. They know that they're gonna hear from you, and it's also really, really good in terms of making friends with the algorithm. So the algorithm likes to see that when you post, your post is getting lots of engagement straight away. So that's going to help boost you and hopefully get you onto the explore page. And it's also going to make your followers feel like you really care what they're saying, which I do. And it's going to encourage them to comment and like in the future, because they know that you're reading what they're writing and they know it has value to you. So how about those days when you just have absolutely nothing to say? We all have them. I think my number one tip for this is to keep a notes page on your phone or in your notes app, wherever you prefer to keep notes. And whenever you have a nice idea for something you could talk about in a caption, write it down, because these ideas don't always come to you at the most opportunistic moments. When you're sitting down to actually write your caption, it might, come to you while you're driving or traveling, or even when you're in the shower or right before you fall asleep. They're really common times to come up with ideas because your brain is sort of in more of a rest mode. Yes, and then you have this list that you can quickly look back at when you're having a day that you're not feeling very inspired, and it can help really spark some ideas again and get you thinking about things that you did want to talk about. And for me, I know that I rely on that quite often, and it really does help. Secondly, go with how you feel at the time of writing your caption. So if I'm not feeling super deep and meaningful on a certain day, I don't force myself to write something deep and meaningful, because I think it really shows. People can tell that your heart isn't in it, and I can tell that my heart isn't in it, and I just rather wouldn't do it until I'm feeling it. So yeah, go with the flow, go with how you feel. If you feel like writing paragraphs, then write paragraphs. If you feel like writing a couple of sentences, write a couple of sentences. But yeah, just go with how you feel. And also, just so you know, the longest caption you're allowed to have on Instagram is 2,200 characters, and that includes spaces. So if I am feeling very inspired and end up writing paragraphs, I actually do that on my laptop and take it into Microsoft Word and use the word count function, and you can count spaces and characters, and it tells you how many you have. So sometimes I'll be a little bit over, and I'll just have to go back through and cut out anything I can until I get my word count right down. The other way you can do it is posting comments in the order that you've written your caption, but then you have to ask people to search for the rest of it. So I try not to do that unless it's, you know, really, really important that I have more words. Another thing I find really helpful is to always have the photo that I'm posting next to me and open on my phone while I'm writing my caption, because I do feel like I personally like to have a little bit of a connection between the photo and the caption, even if it's a very loose connection. So having it open next to me while I'm writing just helps me, I guess it helps inspire me a little bit too and keep me on track. And finally, I just wanted to share a little list of ideas that I have for days when you are feeling super stuck, or you just need a little bit more inspiration in how you can put your caption together. So number one is caption this. And caption this is a really nice way to create conversation and get people feeling creative and having input. If you have a photo that's particularly interesting, that could tell quite a few different stories, and you just, you know, either don't have the time to write a caption or you're not feeling it that day, asking people to write your caption for you is really fun. And a way to make this more engaging is to actually say that you're going to pick a winner and you're going to put their caption at the top when you've done that, and give them credit for it, and that also encourages people to get more involved. Number two, finish this sentence. So another way to prompt people to get more conversational is to give them the beginning of a sentence and then ask them to finish it. So I think one I've used recently is, hello, my name is blank and everybody knows I love blank. And then people fill that in. It's really fun because they get to share more about themselves, and also you get to learn about them too. Number three, what's your favorite? So giving people an option, do you like prefer this or this? So sunsets or sunrise, oceans or lakes, cities or nature. It could be anything, but it's kind of fun to ask people to pick which side they're on. Now, if you're at a point where your account is growing and your numbers are changing quite frequently, it's really nice to actually reintroduce yourself every 2 to 4 weeks, because it's really easy to forget that you've got all these new people who probably haven't gone through and read previous captions and sort of are just picking up from where they started following you, and they may have missed a lot about you. So don't feel silly to reintroduce yourself and share some facts about yourself. Just try and mix it up so that people who have been following you are not going to be reading the same thing over and over again. Some of the captions that I get the most response to, and I guess I feel I make most of a connection with people, are the captions where I'm being a little bit more vulnerable and sharing either some insecurities I have or some fears that I have, or even revelations that I've made. It doesn't have to be a negative thing, it could be a positive thing too, but I guess just being more vulnerable in what you're saying. Be funny. So I am not funny. I am not good at being funny. I'm very good at being sarcastic, and if you have met me in real life, you will know that. But some people are amazing at being funny and writing funny things. So if you are one of those, I think embrace it, and I always find that those kind of captions get really great responses from what I've seen on other people's accounts. You could share a fun or interesting fact that you've come across that you think most people won't know about. So one that I shared recently was there is such thing as a moonbow as opposed to a rainbow, and a moonbow happens when light from the moon refracts off the raindrops the same way the sun would and makes a rainbow, but it's called a moonbow, and I just thought that was really cool. I've never heard of that, and other people might find this interesting. So that was an easy way for me to write an engaging caption. You could tell a story, whether it's about your day, about your life, about choices you've made. It could be anything. The other day I told the story about how I went to the bakery and used my German for the first time and didn't use one word of English, and everyone understood what everyone was saying, and that was a really amazing moment for me. It was super simple, but that was my story for the day, and you'd be amazed at how much of a connection you can make with people just by telling a story. Storytelling has been part of human nature since forever. Think about people sitting around a fire telling stories. That's just so human and so relatable. So tell stories. You could be topical and talk about current seasons, current topics on the news, current holidays like Christmas, Halloween, Easter, whatever it might be. Things that are top of mind for people and that everyone would be able to relate to. And finally, you could share a list of your favorite things, whether it's your favorite songs, your favorite podcasts, your favorite blogs, your favorite books, favorite TV shows on Netflix. I know everyone is always looking for something new to watch on Netflix. So that's a nice way to share with people, and also ask for other people's ideas or inputs on that list too. As always, guys, I hope that was really helpful. I know I get quite a lot of questions about captions, and it is one of the trickier parts. Once you've mastered, your photos and your style, captions really are important to get right and to make the most of. It's a super powerful space for you to connect with people and to keep them coming back to your page, to let them know that you're a real person and to help them learn more about you. I also find it's a really nice place to reassure people that I'm not perfect, that the pictures you see of me are not my whole life. That's 1 millisecond of my life that you're seeing in that picture. And I don't want anyone to go through my feed and feel bad about their life and themselves and the fact that they're not perfect, because nobody's perfect, and I'm enjoying sharing more of that with everybody. And yes, as always, I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments. I'd love to get a like, and I'd also love to hear what you struggle most with when it comes to your captions, so we can keep talking about this. And yes, until next week, bye.